moment the mother get into motherhood, you start thinking about the child. Your universe shifts to the child. Fathers also start getting neglected. At times, they are taken for granted. You cannot be going about life in the same manner and leaving your wife alone. That is absolutely wrong. You are expecting your wife to get you a child and you still just doing whatever you wanted to do. It is a very difficult journey. Be a part of it.
What do you think can be done by the dad to bring peace in the house when there is a mismatch of expectations where mommy wants to do something but grandma wants to do something and dad is just caught in the middle?
I would suggest mothers should never get into a perfectionist mindset because अगर आप father की गलती को बार-बार highlight करके and if you make him feel bad, how do you expect him to always be involved? It is a mother's role to not aim for perfection, aim for teamwork.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Indian Parent Podcast. I am Rinie Gupta, your co-host, and we release new episodes every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or are a long-time listener, I want to tell you that you have picked a great episode to come in because this is our Father's Day special episode. In this episode, we'll get to hear all about the expectations, struggles, and dreams that fathers have directly from a dad. So, if you're a dad, then keep listening as you'll find it so relatable and you'll feel so validated in your journey. You'll keep saying, yes, bro, that's me. That's exactly how I feel. And if you are a mom, then do share this episode with your partner and also keep listening to understand your partner's feelings about fatherhood. And perhaps these things are things that he feels but has never said out loud. Our guest today for this Father's Day special episode is Prranav Vashistha. Prranav is a dad and the host of the popular podcast, The Gut Feel Show, and a mental health advocate. He shares a raw and honest perspective on what the role of a father is in a child's life. What's the best way to play that role? How dads can support mums in the vulnerable postpartum periods and also get that support and understanding in return. So this is one of our first episodes in English, so it'll be surely a treat for our Desi parents, and it's such an interesting and fun conversation. So please stay with me and enjoy this episode. Let's dive right in. Hi Pranav, how are you? Thank you for coming on our show today.
You're most welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And I was telling the audience earlier that this is our Father's Day special episode. I'm really glad to have a father here because I feel in the parenting space, I mean, women are just dominating it at this point, right? I think it has just become a very woman focused domain. Everybody from sleep consultants to nutrition consultants to parenting coaches, they're all women. So even on our podcast, because of that virtue, we're always hearing women speak their opinions. And I just am so excited to hear things from a dad's perspective. So Pranav, let's get this conversation started, okay? And the first thing
Yes.
that I want to talk to you about and get your perspective on is about parenting then, from our parents' generation versus now. Okay? Do you think that in our generation, what we expect of a father or the role that a father is playing is changing as compared to what our parents or our dads did, basically?
It is definitely changing, and it is also changing because times have changed. Back then, 30 years ago, the bread and butter thing was dominated by the father. It was like that back then. Less of females were working. So उसमें जब fathers busy रहते थे ना, they could give very less time to the kids. क्योंकि जब आप पूरा दिन काम करके घर पे आते हो, you're very tired. Now the time has changed that both the parents are working. So now both have equal responsibilities. So out of whatever time the parents have, father also now designates time to parenting. So right now the scenario has completely changed because Abhina fathers are also more aware, more involved. Even wives want their husbands to be contributing because alone it is difficult. Earlier when we were kids, our mothers were handling everything alone. It was a very lonely journey back then. So to fill that up, the fathers are also contributing. But I feel it has changed because the times have changed. Now, the demand of the time is that both the parents are working. So if both the parents are working, both the parents also are contributing to parenting also now.
या मतलब ये बात तो बिल्कुल है, बट ऐसा नहीं लगता कि जैसे हमारे डैड्स जो थे, ऑफ कोर्स वो थक कर आते थे घर वापस, बट इट वाज आल्सो कि उनको लगता नहीं था कि ये मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है बच्चों को खाना खिलाना, उनको निल्हाना सुलाना. दे नेवर
Yes.
थॉट दैट दिस इज माय शेयर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, या लाइक एज लॉन्ग एज आई
Yeah.
एम अर्निंग एंड आई एम ब्रिंगिंग होम द डो, that's all I need to do. But I
Yeah.
think your generation of fathers may not feel that way.
Yeah. Because that time, एक ना male ego बहुत primarily dominated थी. See, we get influenced by the people we are around with. तो अगर आस पड़ोस के लोगों को भी हम देख रहे हैं कि चलो मदर्स का ही काम है ये सब करना, और अगर फादर करते हैं तो ऐसा देखा जाता है कि नहीं, आपका तो लेवल नीचे हो गया, योर लेवल इज वेरी हाई, यू टू अर्न द ब्रेड एंड बटर, एंड मदर्स आर ऑन अ डिफरेंट जॉब, यू डोंट गेट इन्वॉल्व विद देम. पहले दिस वाज समथिंग दैट एवरीवन वाज सीइंग, ऑब्जर्विंग एंड गेटिंग इन्फ्लुएंस्ड with. Then, with times, with nuclear families, this pattern got broke. Because earlier there was there was a lot of support coming in from peers, like a lot of family members, everyone. So that that space of parent father not being there was not felt that much initially. But abhi kya hota hai in a nuclear family, if the mother is only doing that, mother gets very exhausted. By the end of the day, she's like, मैं कितना कुछ अकेले करूंगी. So slowly this transition shifted, even male ego sort of with more of females working now. The male ego got balanced because the bread and butter is now coming in from both the parents. So that male ego was primarily very highly dominant 30, 40 years ago. Although I won't say all the fathers were like that, but some people who were heavily influenced by the community, by the society, got that thing, and also I feel they regret it now. I also feel a lot of fathers when they are in their 60s regret कि मैंने अपनी wife का उस time help नहीं किया. So I think they got carried away with this societal influence.
Yeah, I think society does have a very big role to play in it. I'm not going to say that it's rare, but it's becoming more uncommon to see dads who say, I don't like to change diapers and I don't do that. I think there is still some way to go to still balance out those responsibilities between mums and dads. I think another thing that we really attribute a lot to the masculine energy, I think somewhere ये 80s का idea है, the angry young man. तो कई बार fatherhood में भी translate हो जाता था कि पापा से डर लगता था कि मम्मी बोलती थी पापा को आने दे फिर बताती हूँ. And I think somewhere a lot of us have grown up with a fear of our father कि पापा से डरना है, and that's how dads used to command respect in the family, that people used to be fearful, everything from mummy to bachas were fearful of dad. Do you think that is the way that you would go about your parenting journey, where you feel like your child needs to fear you in order to respect you?
I think fear is the right word that I would like to do use in my parenting, but I definitely feel that good cop, bad cop, which is a thing that really works. I think back then what was happening was that was father was the bad cop always and mother was always the good cop. रो के बच्चे मम्मी के पास जाते थे और पिटाई और डांट पड़ने के लिए पापा से पड़ती थी. So I personally feel if like a mother and a father, it's a dual team, it should always have a transitional good cop, bad cop personality. I'm seeing more of sometimes mother being the bad cop, father being the good cop, and sometimes father being the good cop, mother being the bad cop. This has to be there because अगर ये नहीं होगा ना, the kid will eventually not understand boundaries. So the kid finally feels ki both of them are good, both of them can be bad, so I have to be careful. Bad meaning set in regards of setting discipline. When you asked fear, I would definitely say that fear is the worst thing that you can give to your child. Fear should not be used because as being an adult, being a person who is way older than your child, you can infuse fear very easily. You can manipulate the child using fear. But that is a very short-term solution that will destroy a kid's personality. So you should find better ways to be firm, to be assertive, to uh, give that clear message of boundary or discipline. Fear is an easy way out, but the consequences are very bad. Consequences can cause mental health issues, can cause personality issues. So I think we have to understand fear is something we were misusing. So fear is something which is not needed. But there is a better thing than fear, which is discipline, which is being assertive, which is setting boundaries. This is needed. We cannot set the stage free, otherwise kids will be out of hand out after some time.
100%. I totally agree with that. Key discipline is needed, right? When you say,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
somebody is saying, "Oh, I'm being a bad cop," doesn't mean कि मार के discipline करना है.
Bad cop doesn't mean that. Bad cop is the
Yeah,
person who you know, who you see and you know कि this is something I have to not do. It is not that person has to beat you, but you know that this the Papa is going to be assertive about this. Mama is going to be assertive about this. So let's step back and rethink. If that is enough. If the kid knows that in this moment I have to step back and rethink, your job is done. You don't have to beat the kid.
absolutely. Because फिर क्या होता है ना, like we did a whole episode on parenting without punishment. And when we spoke about fear-based parenting, the biggest thing that the coach brought out was that if your child fears you, right? Can you imagine when they are in trouble? Are they ever going to come and open up to you? Because हम लोग जब गड़े हुए, हमारी फर्स्ट थॉट क्या थी जब मुश्किल में पड़े? ओ गॉड, मम्मी डैडी को पता ना चले, लेट मी हाइड इट सम वे, आई डोंट वांट देम टू फाइंड आउट अबाउट व्हाट goof up I've
Yeah.
done. But it also got us into bigger troubles because of it. मुझे लगता है if a dad is can be not a fearful figure but a trustworthy figure, can you imagine the child isn't going to the father and saying, "Papa, I'm in this trouble. Can you please help me out?" Now, the other thing that I would like to ask you about is dads and moms का एक जो dynamic आपने बोला ना, एक गुड कॉप बैड कॉप एक डायनामिक सेट होता है. बट दैट इज व्हेन बच्चे जब थोड़े बड़े हो जाते हैं, व्हेन द होल बाउंड्री सेटिंग फेज एंड एवरीथिंग कम्स इन. But I think the first time where moms and dads need to discover their mutual dynamic is freshly in that postpartum period. I became a mother the very moment I became pregnant. My husband became a father when he actually held the baby for
Yeah,
the
that's the
first time,
difference. We are 9 months
right?
delayed. Fathers are 9 months delayed into parenthood. We
So
have a 9 month lag.
and तो उससे फिर क्या होता है, I think a lot of times I've seen dads where I feel that they are maybe possibly not supporting the mom adequately during this period, right? So what do you think, from you can tell from your personal experience as well, what you've seen around you, what are some of the very good ways of for dads to support mothers in this very vulnerable postpartum period right after having a baby?
I would like to bring a different point here. I personally, I feel even if the father is trying to support in that period, there is let's say, frequency mismatch because mothers are on a different frequency 9 months ahead of the father. When you said you also rightly pointed it out that you experienced motherhood when you got pregnant. So you are in a different state of mind. The father is in a different state of mind. It is difficult for the mothers to also now think about the father because the moment the mother get into motherhood, you start thinking about the child. Your universe shifts to the child only. So fathers also start getting neglected. At times, they are taken for granted. Telling you, trust me, at times fathers are not able to understand what turbulence of thought process you are going through because you are going through it hormonally. Your body is making you think a lot of things which the father is disconnected from. He is disconnected because biologically it is not happening with him. He is not in the same state as the mother. So इसमें कई बार conflicts इसलिए होते हैं because the father is trying to help, but the kind of help or the magnitude of help that the mother is seeking, that is not something that the father is able to provide. So I think there is for that 9 months, because there's a 9 month lag, they cannot mash together. So there is a phase where both of them have to understand. The father has to understand that the mother's state is very different. She is thinking a lot more than you can think. And the mother should know that I have to bring my husband to the same page. I have to talk to him that this is what I'm feeling. And maybe it is more about talking out phase rather than expecting phase, those 9 months. Because if we start expecting, there's a frequency mismatch जिसकी वजह से conflict शुरू हो जाता
Wow, that is so beautifully explained. It's like when you were talking about this, I'm having flashbacks from 4 years ago, and I'm like, yes, this is exactly like I am feeling something. I'm just like, तुम ऐसे क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, तुम वैसे क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, तुम इस बारे में सोच क्यों नहीं रहे हो? But
है. I'm telling you from experience.
that's what it is, right? कि सब लोग different frequency में, as if you don't communicate, if you straight away move on to expectation कि तुम्हें ऐसे करना चाहिए, first sit down, have a talk about it.
We all get into parenthood randomly, most of us. We need to talk about this before getting into parenthood, and we all take parenting for granted. जिस दिन हमारा parenthood hit किया, we feel we are the one और हमें सब पता है. I think we need to be more humble as mother and father. We need to be more humble when we get into parenthood, start reading more, start talking more, start researching more कि भाई हमारे साथ हो क्या रहा है? What are we really getting into? Why are you feeling so? Why am I'm not feeling so? Can we get onto the same page? If we don't do that, then mother is on this trajectory, father is on this trajectory, and after 9 months, they're like this. That is why you see this big gap because the trajectory is like this. There's a huge gap that comes in. That is why this huge gap causes a lot of conflict.
Yeah, so I think that gap needs to you need to start bridging it during pregnancy. Don't wait till the baby
Yes.
is here.
Those 9 months is the bridging period. Those 9 months is the bridging period. We misuse that 9 months. We get into shopping, we get into photo shoot. No one prepares for parenthood. No one is talking, what am I going through? How will our life change? What am I thinking? What are you thinking? What are your 5 year goals now? What are my 5 year goals now? कोई नहीं बात कर रहा है. Everyone gets hyper excited. IKEA shopping, photo shoots, this and that happens apart from discussing parenthood. And I think that is the most important thing.
Yes, big time. That's why I think like, during pregnancy itself, right? That is where if you start asking having these difficult conversations, try to think ahead. Maybe speak to somebody who has just become a parent. Go like, रात के 3 बज रहे हैं and the sleepless nights. How are we gonna do this, right? How are we gonna decide on our feeding choices? What if breastfeeding is difficult? Will you support me with that? When I'm ready to go back to work, what is your opinion on it? What is my opinion on it? These conversations need to happen when you are not bogged down by the newborn, because keeping that little baby alive is hard enough. That is not the time
Yeah,
to have difficult conversations.
yeah, बिल्कुल. And also one more thing I want to point it out. कितना भी same level पे आ जाओ, trust me, motherhood, 50% of motherhood is a lonely journey. आपको 3 बजे आपको जो अचानक से फील हुआ, आपको किसी चीज पे गुस्सा आया, your husband who was sleeping is not on the same page. But the wife suddenly gets pissed off कि तुम्हें तो कोई फिक्र ही नहीं है. तुम्हें तो ये फील ही नहीं हो, सिर्फ मुझे हो रहा है. बिकॉज यू आर सेइंग कि यार मेरा हस्बैंड तो सारा लाइफ के नॉर्मल चीजें अभी भी एंजॉय कर रहा है, मेरी सब चीजें क्यों बदल गई हैं? व्हाई आर यू स्टिल डूइंग दैट? आई डोंट वांट यू टू आल्सो डू दैट. सो आई थिंक दीज आर थिंग्स दैट वी नीड टू रियली टॉक अबाउट. आई अंडरस्टैंड कि कैसा फील हो रहा होता है, बट आई वांट द फादर टू आल्सो कम टू द सेम पेज कि आई वांट टू हेल्प यू. आई विल नॉट डू थिंग्स दैट विल बॉदर यू, but you also need to understand that half of the time I am not in your head. I am not able to understand your mind's turbulence. So please explain it to me rather expecting things from me directly.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. But of course, women are hormonal right after they give birth and everything. But do you feel that dads should also make changes and compromises in their lifestyle after having a child? Just in my line of work, I'm always working with a lot of families where they're facing a lot of sleep trouble. Or kitni bar aisa hota hai, it's always a mom who's approaching me because dad is still going on with the same life, कि उनका same office timing, same gym timing, same hanging out with the friends चल रहा है, and then mom is like feeling very trapped. तो ऐसे
Yeah.
सिनेरियोज, what do you think about?
I definitely feel that husbands should definitely, dad should definitely come to that same page, avoid a lot of things that they were doing and their wife cannot be a part of now. You definitely have to come down from that. You cannot be going about life in the same manner and leaving your wife alone. That is absolutely wrong. Like you are like expecting your wife to get you a child and you still are just doing whatever you wanted to do. It is a very difficult journey. Be a part of it. But now when the husband becomes a part of it, it is the wife's duty to all, because see, mothers are more emotionally intelligent. So when you hit motherhood 9 months ahead of us, you have become further superior from the husband. So you have to be more empathetic towards him. अगर वो हेल्प करना चाहता है, hold his hand and bring him. कई बार क्या होता है, husbands want to help, लड़ाइयाँ इतनी होती है, then he goes back कि भाई मेरे नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, I will step out of it. Let's just not do it. मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा. If the husband is coming to help you as a mother, be bigger, be wiser. I would suggest fathers should definitely try their 100% to get into the mother's shoe, but it is also mother's responsibility to hold their hand and bring them in.
Actually, एक बहुत बड़ा cause of friction, what you said, is the dad is trying to help, but mother has a certain expectation कि इस तरह से करना है. From diaper
Yes,
changes
yes,
to ये खाना
yes.
बनाना है या कैसे खिलाना है, and this is something that my husband and I go through as
खाने की
well.
कंसिस्टेंसी में इश्यूज या फिर डायपर का आपने लाइनिंग ठीक से वो नहीं किया है.
Yeah.
देयर आर लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज दैट मदर नोज क्योंकि उसको बच्चे के लिए परफेक्ट करना है. एंड व्हेन यू हैव दैट परफेक्शनिस्ट माइंडसेट, नो, you are already lonely. Perfectionists are lonely people. Why? Because उनको दुनिया में किसी और पे trust नहीं है. A perfectionist can only trust themselves. So I would suggest mothers should never get into a perfectionist mindset because गलतियां उनसे भी होंगी, father से भी होंगी. अगर आप father की गलती को बार-बार highlight करके and if you make him feel bad, how do you expect him to always be involved? He will also feel bad. He will feel hurt. So it is a mother's role to not aim for perfection, aim for a teamwork.
Yeah. We have to stop looking over the dad's shoulder. Absolutely. मेरे को लगता है even when it comes to sleep, right? Like a lot of moms are telling me, like my child does not sleep without me. And I was just like, have you really given a true chance for the dad to try? या फिर आपने baby दिया, उसने 2 minute रोया, and then you were just like, you can't do this, give the baby back to me. If you're
Yeah.
going to do it, how are they ever going to find that equation? This maternal gatekeeping behavior that a lot of moms have, that these tasks are mine and you have to do them my way, ये बहुत एक friction cause करता है moms and dads में.
Actually, I'll say something, don't mind it. I feel at times when, because now we are also in nuclear families and mothers के पास कोई और venting mechanism भी नहीं होता है. Husbands are like punching bags for mothers at times. उनको कोई चीज के बारे में बुरा लग रहा होगा ना, वो भड़ास सारी husband पे निकल जाएगी and then they will feel better and husband will always be like, यार मेरे बस का नहीं है ये. So I think that's, see, that is good. That venting is good, but I think that venting should come in form of talking rather than just making the husband feel कि you cannot do it like I do. This is a fact. Fathers cannot match the mothers. Period. If the mother knows this, कि यार ये मेरे जैसा कर ही नहीं पाएगा, your expectation automatically finishes. You are like, चलो let's work as a team now. I am A member of the team, you are B member of the team. I'll contribute in A capacity, you'll contribute in B capacity. That is it. So parenting can be a beautiful journey, but it will be only beautiful when you hold hand and go together into it.
मुझे लगता है when men are listening to this episode, they're going to be like, yes, Pranav, you get me. And for women who are listening to this episode, just have an open and non-judgmental mindset, because what basically you are saying is we are at different starting points. ऐसा नहीं है that the fathers will never catch up. Eventually they will catch up, and I have seen it happen in my own life. My child is 4 years old at this point. Mummy and daddy play a very equal role in her life, but we have to guide our husbands to catch up and not get frustrated during that period where there is that knowledge gap.
Yeah.
It
You have
takes
to
time.
guide for that 9 month ka gap. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, and dads also need to be willing to go through that journey. So that's huge. I think one thing you said कि we are expecting a lot of dads, right? मुझे उल्टा question पूछना है. What are dads expecting of moms at this age? Like, once you become a parent, what are your core expectations as a father?
I would say that fathers are expecting more of understanding. I'm not talking about fathers who are not involved in parenting. I'm talking from the standpoint where fathers are involved into parenting. They're willing to be involved. So what I'm expecting, or these fathers are expecting from the mother, is that they're given some the slack, like they're given some breathing space at times. Like, नहीं समझ में आ रहा. Give us some time. Like we will take some time and get to it. Mothers are multitasking. Mothers have 5 things going in their head for the baby from the moment they got up till the moment they will sleep. Fathers are monotasking and they're in the first task of the day, which is diaper changing, and उनको रात के task के लिए बोला जा रहा है कि तुमने अभी तक उसकी planning क्यों नहीं करी है. So I think fathers are really catching up. So we need to give them some space.
Yeah. Wow, I think my husband will listen to this. You're just like, Suna, this is this is true. It really
I think
happens. Like,
this would be perfect for Father's Day.
that's true, exactly. Because you see, let's say we could be going and packing for the beach. I have this whole mental list of things ready, and and if I ask my husband to do the same thing, I know there are going to be some items missed out. But the funny thing is, if those items are missed out, it doesn't bother him. He's very chilled about it. He's like, it's okay, we can get it at the beach, or we can make do without it. But mothers
I
get up
relate to
all,
that.
yeah, and mothers get all worked up कि ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं लेके आई, वो कैसे तुम भूल गए. So I think this is why, like,
You brought up a very good point, and I want to also highlight this up. I think we are taking parenting too seriously. Mothers are taking parenting too seriously. If something is missing on the trip or on the when you're going on the beach, I think it is fine. We can work it out. अगर हम if we want an idealistic theory to practical mindset कि जो theory में था वही practical में आना चाहिए, I think we will miss on to that quality of time. We need to take certain measures to protect that. I'm not saying be casual about that, but once the kid is after a certain age start walking, we need to start easy things up a little bit. I think that is needed. Otherwise, we won't be able to enjoy holidays.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think, but you know, there is also that inherent difference where you spoke about multitasking, right? I think what you're really referring to is that the mental load that women carry, and the mental load that women carry is generally far greater than the mental load that dads are carrying. And while some part of it is their biological capability to do it, but some part of it is also just a societal, the way we are डूइंग थिंग्स राइट कि बच्चे का एवरीथिंग की वो डायपर क्रीम फिनिश होने वाली है या फिर उसका उसका वो कपड़े नेक्स्ट साइज के ऑर्डर करने हैं छोटी छोटी चीजें जो एक अक्यूमुलेट हो जाती है ना वो मॉम के दिमाग में चल रही होती है एंड दैट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट फ्रस्ट्रेट्स हर एंड उसमें देख उनको लगता है कि लाइक यू नो व्हाई कांट यू टेक केयर ऑफ दिस पर्सनली आई डू कैरी अ लॉट ऑफ दिस मेंटल लोड और मेरा एक ही सोल्यूशन मैंने निकाला है कि मैं एक वर्टिकल कुछ ऐसा लेती हूँ और वो अपने हस्बैंड को दे देती हूँ कि ये तुम्हारा है आई एम नॉट इवन गोना थिंक अबाउट दिस
I
पार्ट
think that's a good way. That's a good way.
व्हेन इट वाज माय किड्स का पॉटी ट्रेनिंग का टाइम इंस्टेड ऑफ मी थिंकिंग कि अब मुझे ये कॉस्ट प्रोसेस चाहिए मुझे वो आइटम चाहिए मुझे ये चाहिए मैंने कहा मैं नहीं कर रही ये लो बुक अब नाउ यू टेक केयर ऑफ इट नाउ दिस इज
See,
योर्स
that
आई एम
is
नॉट गोना
that
रीड
is
द
where
बुक
you did a great thing. Now what happened was you divided the task. हम क्या कर रहे हैं अभी तक we are fighting on one task that हम दोनों में से कौन इस task को बढ़िया करेगा. Let's test things out. I think that is where we are fighting. Divide the task and then just be easy on it.
बट प्रणव पता है द कई बार द सोर्स ऑफ द स्ट्रेस इज नीदर द चाइल्ड नॉर द पार्टनर समटाइम्स द स्ट्रेस सोर्स ऑफ द स्ट्रेस इज द रेस्ट ऑफ द फैमिली the extended family, the
Absolutely.
in-laws, the parents.
Yeah.
Fathers often get caught between this feud between the mother and let's say the grandmother, right? So I'm sure you have been in scenarios like this as well. What do you think can be done by the dad to bring peace in the house when there is a mismatch of expectations, mismatch of baby care practices where mommy wants to do something but grandma wants to do something and dad is just caught in the middle? What can dads do to bring peace in their house?
I think the only hack to that is diplomacy. I will tell you what that is. Like, I think you cannot change your mother now, and you cannot ask your wife to change while she's going mother and through motherhood. Both the expectations are wrong. So you have to become a diplomat. Understand what your mother is saying, extract what is right out of that because they're not completely wrong. Maybe their way of communicating might be wrong. Extract whatever is right and listen to your wife and understand where your mother's advice can be silently implemented. So you have to play that very smart strategic role so that both of them are satisfied. You cannot just create conflict. You have to be very smart here. We need to learn diplomacy. We can't say yes to everything. We can't say no to everything. You have to learn to navigate.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's and मुझे लगता है कि this is exactly where a lot of moms are saying कि you know I'm not able to talk to my mother-in-law about this. I have this issue, but who do I speak to? That's where I think dad needs to step in to be that middle person to facilitate that discussion. Whether he's having that discussion separately with both of them and then trying to bring them together, or he's sitting together with the both of them trying to listen to their point of view. But as much as possible, you want to try to be that diplomat negotiator, basically.
Yes. See, it can be from both ways. From the girl's parents also there are at times pressure because they have a certain philosophy. So now for the mother's parent side, the mothers have to be diplomat. From the father's parent side, the father has to be a diplomat. They both have to be diplomat.
बिल्कुल बट आई थिंक यू नो नॉट जस्ट इन डिप्लोमेसी मुझे लगता है देयर इज आल्सो अ सर्टेन लेवल ऑफ बाउंड्री सेटिंग दैट वी नीड टू डू
See, that diplomacy will eventually set boundaries. क्योंकि क्या होगा ना पेरेंट्स will slowly start to realize जब बच्चा भी क्या करता है जब बच्चा एक्सक्यूज देने लग जाता है ना you slowly start to understand without conflict कि यार ये अपने मन की करेगा लेकिन आपका कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं हुआ होता क्योंकि वो बच्चा इतना स्मार्ट होता है कि आपको सुनता सबकी है करता अपने मन की है दैट इज अ सेइंग इन हिंदी एंड दैट वर्क्स वेरी वेल सुनो सबकी करो अपने मन की इसमें ना किसी को बुरा लगता है और आप जो चाहते हो वो हो जाता है आई थिंक दैट बाउंड्री बाय डिफॉल्ट सेट्स इन व्हेन यू लिसन टू एवरीवन बट स्टिल कन्विंस देम eventually to do whatever you want to do That's a very difficult part in Indian joint families, but that is very crucial, and that is also why our the upbringing of Indian families are still stronger than Western societies. Why Western countries are still very lonely because all of them dissociated from each other. मुझे तुमसे लेना देना नहीं है 18 साल के बाद तुम्हें हमसे लेना they did set up too much boundaries like boundaries in the sense कि we don't care about you now. So हमारे यहाँ क्या हो रहा है, too much caring is happening, like too much involvement is happening. So हमें we need to loosen that enough that we navigate through whatever we want, लेकिन ऐसा ना हो जाए कि पूरा परिवार ही टूट जाए, पता चला सभी बिखर गए हैं. So that has to be played on very smartly. It is way smarter than whatever job you're doing right now.
Diplomatically do some boundary setting. Like dad should be handling the dad side of the family, mom should be handling the mom side of the family. And then in the end, suno sabki karo apni man ki, that still requires the mom and dad to be one unit and to get on
So
the same
first,
page.
the
Unka
first
to ek hi bachcha
prerequisite
hai.
is prerequisite is that you are one unit. If you are not one unit, then all of this is a flop.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल आई थिंक दिस इज अ वेरी गुड एडवाइस बिकॉज फर्स्ट क्या होता है ना कई बार शादी के बाद यू स्टिल टेंड टू बी मोर इंक्लाइन टुवर्ड्स योर ओन पेरेंट्स एक बार फर्स्ट इज यू हैव टू कम टुगेदर एज यूनिट एंड देन यू कैन डिप्लोमेटिकली नेविगेट रिलेशनशिप विद बोथ साइड्स ऑफ द फैमिली ये तो definitely that that is there. So Pranav, the last question that I have for you is, you have a son, right? Because I have a daughter, and there is a certain relationship that mothers and daughters have, but even for fathers and sons is a very unique special relationship that they have. As a father, what are some things that you want to pass on to your son, some lesson that you want to pass on to your son to help him lead a happy, healthy life in the future?
What I'm already subconsciously trying to bring in him is, first of all, to respect. Never disrespect people, anyone, any age, to learn and respect. Whenever he does anything out of an impulsive, just a spike of anger, or because kids start to feel emotions very abruptly. So I make him understand that what was wrong in this, why, what was the consequence of that, how is the other person feeling now. So I'm trying to set up that subconscious connection of respect, because that respect will again transition into different relationships, girlfriend, wife, mothers, parents. Like this, that respect should be imbibed from a very early age. So respect is something I'm working on, and I definitely take him into every sport that I am getting into. So from a very early age, he learns to use sport as a channelizing mechanism for his energy. So respect and energy channelizing, these two things I'm working on.
Amazing. Your generation of the dads are the cycle breakers because there is a certain level of toxic masculinity that was pervasive in the society in the generation above yours, and even more so in our grandfather's generation. And your generation is choosing to say, no, we are going to raise boys who are respectful, who are sensitive, who are able to speak about their feelings, find healthy ways of venting their emotions through sports and things like that. I think it's such a beautiful thing to be that cycle breaker and to take that responsibility on yourself. Wow, lovely. I just like, I think there's so much that I have learned from this conversation. The biggest thing is I have learned a father's perspective on this, you know, and
I'm glad we were speaking on this topic. I was very happy to bring this up.
yes, क्योंकि हमेशा we are always looking at parenting almost of the time from a mother's lens about what the mother is going through, what the mother is feeling. लेकिन father के बारे में हम इतना बात करते नहीं हैं. And but the
I think
things
this
that you
would,
pointed out,
yeah.
amazing. I just loved it. Right.
I think a lot of fathers would connect to those points. I feel so.
I think the Father's Day जब आएगा ना, that day when they are driving to work, that day, that this is the podcast they should be listening to, and they will just
I
feel
hope so.
so
Yeah.
heard and so seen by a fellow dad. So thank you so much, Pranav, for sharing your perspective with us. And you know
Most
what,
welcome.
I'm gonna drop the link to your podcast in our description because I'm sure
Okay.
the dads who come into us, they would love to hear you talk more about so
Yeah.
many things. So I'm gonna link all those down below in the description so people can connect with you as there
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you so much, Pranav. Thank you for joining us.
It was a pleasure. It was a great conversation.